You know, in an age of incredible medical marvels, it's kind of crazy to think that one of humanity's oldest enemies is still thriving. We're talking about a disease that's been around for millennia, and even with everything we know, it is still a massive threat. Today, we're diving into tuberculosis. So let me just ask you this straight up. If you had to guess the world's #1 deadliest infectious disease, what would you say? I'm willing to bet the answer is not what you think, and it's a huge reminder of a battle we are absolutely still fighting. All right, so here's our game plan. We're going to meet the tiny culprit behind this whole thing, see how it launches its invasion, and then uncover its really clever strategy of a silent siege. After that, we'll learn the warning signs of an attack and, most importantly, talk about how we fight back. Okay, first things first, let's get to know our adversary. What exactly is tuberculosis? What are we really up against here? The bad guy in this story is a bacterium with a fancy name, Mycobacterium tuberculosis. It's a microscopic, rod-shaped little organism, and just to give you a little context, get this. Its closest, most infamous relative is the bacterium that causes leprosy. Yeah, it runs in the family.
Now, I'm sure when most of us hear TB, we immediately picture a really bad cough, something to do with the lungs. But is that the whole picture?
Not even close. While the lungs are definitely its main playground, this invader is incredibly versatile. It can actually hitch a ride in your bloodstream and set up camp almost anywhere in your body. We're talking brain, bones, skin, even your heart. But even though it can go anywhere, the lungs are still ground zero. It makes sense, right? The bacteria are airborne, so the lungs are the first port of entry. It's a warm, oxygen-rich place for them to settle in. And that's exactly why about 85% of all cases are fought right there in the lungs. We call that pulmonary TB. So how does this microscopic invader manage to get from person to person so effectively? The process is actually kind of terrifying in its simplicity. It's really a simple 3-step process. Someone who's infected coughs or speaks or even sings, and they release these invisible droplets filled with bacteria. Those droplets can just hang out in the air, sometimes for hours, literally just waiting for someone else to walk by and breathe them in. And that one breath, that's the invasion. But here's where TB's strategy gets really, well, insidious. Once it's inside your body, it doesn't always go on an all-out attack right away. Oh no, it's much smarter than that. It starts what we call a silent siege. I want you to picture it like this. The bacteria get into your lungs and they start to build a little base camp. Your body's immune system, think of it like a police force, swoops in and surrounds them. The bacteria aren't destroyed, but they're contained, walled off, basically lying dormant in this tense standoff. And this standoff, this sleeping phase, can go on for a really long time. The typical window is 4 to 12 weeks, but it can easily stretch for months, and in some cases, even years. The bacteria are just waiting, patiently, for the right moment to strike. So this creates two totally distinct situations. You've got latent TB, that's the siege. The bacteria are asleep, you don't feel sick, you have 0 symptoms, and you can't spread it to anyone. Your immune system has it under control. But then, there's active TB. That's the attack. The bacteria are awake, they're multiplying, and now you feel sick, and you are contagious. The siege is over. So how do you actually know when that siege has been broken, when the full-blown attack has started? Well, your body is going to start sending out some pretty clear signals. These are the system-wide red flags. A deep exhaustion that never goes away. Losing weight when you're not trying to. Not feeling hungry. A recurring fever, and waking up drenched in sweat at night. That's your body screaming that it's fighting a major war inside. But for TB in the lungs, there is one signal that rises above all the others. A nasty, persistent cough that just will not quit, lasting for more than 2 weeks. This isn't your average cold. It's the absolute key indicator that the lungs are under direct assault. Okay, I know, that all sounds pretty terrifying. But here's the good news. We are not helpless here. We have a really powerful counteroffensive to fight this ancient enemy. Our weapon of choice? Antibiotics. But here's the catch. It's not just one. Because this particular bacterium is so tough and slow-growing, you have to hit it with a cocktail of several different antibiotics, and you have to take them every single day for at least 6 months, sometimes even longer. It's a marathon, not a sprint. Because you got to make sure you get every last one. And that long treatment time brings up a super important question. What happens if, you start to feel better after a month or two and you think, I'm good, and you stop taking the pills? This is, and I can't stress this enough, the most dangerous mistake anyone can make. When you stop early, you've only killed off the weak bacteria. The toughest, most hardcore ones, they survive. And now, those survivors have been exposed to our best weapons. They've had a chance to study our playbook and figure out how to become immune. You're not just risking your own health. You are literally training the enemy to become a superbug, creating drug-resistant TB that is a nightmare to treat. And that's why, with a disease this serious, the absolute best strategy is to just not get it in the first place.
And we know how to do that. The BCG vaccine is a huge help, especially for kids in high-risk parts of the world. After that, it's all about breaking that chain of transmission we talked about, avoiding being in close indoor spaces for a long time with someone who is actively sick, and using simple stuff like masks if you can't avoid contact. Which brings us right back to where we started. All of this, the sneaky bacteria, the long treatment, the prevention, it all matters because tuberculosis, a single bacterial disease, is still the #1 deadliest infectious killer on the planet.
And that leaves us with one last big question to think about. We know the enemy. We know its game plan. We have the weapons to beat it. So why, in an age of unbelievable medical progress, does this ancient, preventable disease still hold that terrible title? Is it really getting the attention it deserves? That's definitely something worth thinking about. Thanks for joining this explainer.